Hey, this is Dustin Neely from Church Planting for the Rest of Us, and I wanted to take just a moment here and ask and answer a question that many of you are probably struggling with even now. When you start your church, are you a pastor or a planter? And the answer is both. And let me tell you, I remember wrestling with this very strongly in the early days of our church. In fact, now 5 years in, I still hold these two things in tension. And that is the way I think you have to navigate this. I don't believe this tension can be resolved. I think it has to be managed. And I actually think this is a good thing. Because if you look in Scripture, what do you have? You have pastor qualifications. You have elder qualifications. They're not planter qualifications. And so the Scriptures are there to moor us, to anchor us, to remind us what our ultimate priority is, and that is shepherding the people so that they look more like and are on mission for Jesus. But obviously, churches have to be planted. Worship leaders have to be hired. Schools have to be procured to be used as worship facilities. All these things that go into establishing a gospel work, they have to happen. So what we have to do is we have to do both of those things. We have to manage this tension knowing that it won't be resolved. So what are a few practical ways that we can move in this direction? Well, the first one is, I think you just have to know this is how it is. It's just like the great theologian G.I. Joe said, knowing is half the battle. And if you just know how this is going to be and that it's going to be difficult, I think it sets you up for success instead of failure in knowing the battle that you're going to be fighting. Now, the second thing is to know that you can't go off the rails justifiably on either side. Young planters I coach sometimes, they say, oh man, well I'm a church planter, I don't want to pastor my people. Or other guys that are more priestly in nature, oh I just want to pastor the people, I'll just trust that stuff to other people. Well, I think there's some oversight and balance that has to be on both sides. You can't just be a pastor, you can't just be a planter, or you fail at all things in between. So you got to work through that and know that that's going to be there. The final two things I would say is, you need people speaking into your life about both of these dimensions. You need a coach, you need a friend, you need elders or elders in training that can say, hey man, seems like we're in the red a little bit here on the pastor side or the planter side. Sometimes your wife can be helpful in this way, but we'll do another video about this sometime. But you don't want to unduly stress her out and make her feel like the elder that she's not called to be. But she can speak into that and it can be helpful. And the final thing is, I would try to figure out up front, where do I lean initially? Some guys will be really excited about doing the nuts and bolts planter stuff. It comes naturally to them. Other guys, it's more on the pastoral side. So know who you are and then have people speak into the situation. And then as you're able, raise up people to be able to help you with those other things. But you got to know you're not just a planter, you're not just a pastor, you are both. And that is a tension that has to be managed that will never be resolved. Pray for you guys today.